With that assurance, let's now turn to markets. I think all of you and our market experts have got a good sense today of what will happen to this economy and to the stock market if the UPA or the third front or the NDA came to power after the 16th of May. And if people were frightened in the stock market about the third front, I think they'll be doubly frightened right now after Sitaram's assurance that he will bring back long-term capital gains, he will raise corporate taxes, personal taxes, because there were only 3 million people, as he articulated, who are not the core part of India. From a stock market perspective, we certainly hope that the third front does not come into power. But let me introduce our three experts if they need any introduction. I don't think any of you, if you're remotely connected with the business world or with the stock market, need to be introduced to any of these three gentlemen on the dais today. Vallabh Bhanshali from INAM, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and Ridham Desai of Morgan Stanley. Let me start by asking a very basic question to you, Vallabh. Very basic question. A lot of people have been suggesting that the stock market, this election 2009 is a make or break event for the stock market. It is a turning point. Do you agree that it is a major turning point for the stock market this year?
I don't think so. Stock market has had many situations like this. It's the nature of the market to handle everything. So I don't think it's a major turning point as such. Market will live to face many things.
So it will be like one of those budgets, you think, where a lot of noise happens before, but a few weeks after the event, the market just moves on?
I think it's a significant event, more than a budget, because a budget is about 1 year. This government may be about an uncertain period, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Therefore, I think it's more significant than just one annual budget.
I heard you say 1, 2 and 3, but not 5.
I've forgotten counting beyond 3. After being in this hall for 1 hour.
Okay. So you were saying?
So I would think that there is a huge premium to stability that we haven't seen for a long time. These are extraordinary times in the world. These times require leadership. There is great lack of confidence. Confidence has to be cajoled back into every sector, every layer of the society. And therefore, not only a stable government, but a capable government is what we need. And if the markets don't see that, they will be worried. And I think as we go along, there are many reasons to think about the importance of this government, because we have to put in perspective what happened over a 10-year period. It's not only just one or 2, 3 years that India has come around. India was a written-off country until 97, 98. And it's a series of events that are shaped, that took us to a moment where we could at least consider saying that India was shining. Whether it was shining or not is a debate. But it was a plausible thing. Today, the world is not shining. India is not shining. We like to think because we are growing faster than others, we have conquered the Everest. It's not like that at all. And spending 1 hour in this hall was not really a great pleasure.
Rakesh, do you agree that it will come and go and not alter the course of the market beyond the short term?
Yeah, I'll answer that question later, but first I would like to make some observations of the honorable members of parliament. That Mr. Yechury says there are only 3 million or 30 million Indians who pay taxes out of 100 crores. So their effort is, our effort was to see that the balance 970 million also pay. They reach that level of prosperity. Their level is to see that the 30 million also reach levels of poverty where they can't pay. And the way my good friend Mr. Thapar was asking them that what they are going to do, you think they know what they are going to do? Have they planned? Do they know anything about the future? Do you think they, no, I think the CPIM is very categorical. They know what they are going to do. Only thing, they will promise to build bridges where there is no river. Right? And, I don't understand that how, anyway, you asked me what's going to happen on the economy. Let me not say too much about the politicians. They'll say something about me then.
We got the gist of what you think of them, but do carry on.
See, then I would like to answer this question in a very different manner. I think the politics of this country or the government or administration of any government of any country is what distinguishes us from sub-Saharan Africa. You read at many places that the Human Development Index, India is not better than sub-Saharan Africa. But despite all kinds of dissatisfaction with the government, we have had governments which are better than sub-Saharan Africa. As an Indian, we have I'm very happy that despite having no single party in power in parliament, we have had 20 years of perfect democracy, with all the institutions of democracy working perfectly well. Whether it's the army, the comptroller auditor general, the judiciary, I think it's very important. So I think the Indian democracy is deeply rooted. And when I look at history, I don't see of any society which has achieved prosperity without capitalism, and having achieved it, retained it. So I think that this is one observation I'd like to make of the political process.
On the markets, we'll come back to all of this.
I come to the market. I mean, if we're very much concerned about the short term, it's different. I want to look at it from a larger perspective.
Sure.
My larger perspective, see, that's very important for the market. Boss, the Yukos owner became a billionaire in Russia by shooting from the state. One day, Putin didn't like his face, he put him in jail. What could he do? You can't do that in India. He was talking of crony capitalism. What is I don't think India must be having the least amount of crony capitalism. What I'm saying is that, what I want to point out is that politics is extremely important for the markets, right? The administration is extremely important. We have a deep-rooted democracy. And what I feel is, about this election is that nobody knows what's going to happen. It's Inam, Inamo.
Did you say Inam, and Inam?
Inam, Inamo.
Oh, Inam. I heard you saying Inam, and Inam. They know.
I hope that let's not reduce Inam to Inamo.
No.
So I personally feel that we don't know what's going to happen after these elections. My personal judgment says the third front government is not going to be formed. And as far as markets are concerned, I think also elections are important. I think at the moment global factors are more important.
Fair. Ridham, you've written a report where you've suggested that India's relative performance compared to other comparable world markets actually hinges around this election result. Tell us why you think so.
Yeah, I think it is coming at a point which is quite critical in our economic cycle. We are faced with a very difficult global situation, so the world is not going to help us. Our fiscal deficit has expanded, and there were a lot of numbers debated in the previous session. Our own estimate is that on a consolidated basis, that number is around 12.6% for the year that ended yesterday.
And about 80% if the third front takes over, right? I mean, all the numbers Sitaram said must add up to 80% or something.
Yeah, well, that's on a projected basis. Yeah, on a projected basis, I think things are looking slightly better because the crude oil deficit is reducing, the fertilizer deficit is reducing, but we don't know how much tax revenues will fall. Point is, we are starting with a situation where the fiscal deficit is high, and at the same time, we need to actually spend money. So I don't disagree with the political comments that we need to spend money as a government. It's a very difficult balancing act. So whichever government comes to power, it needs to execute. And execution has not been the forte of some governments in the past. And that is, I think, the challenge that we face as an economy. So if we get into a situation where the government has some form of stability and therefore some maneuverability with execution, I think India will start doing better than the rest of the world. Because we don't have a balance sheet crisis in our banking system. We do have an NPL crisis. There will be a deep NPL cycle in the next 12 to 18 months. But it's not a balance sheet crisis. We have a growth rate which is likely to be better than most parts of the world. It will be definitely slower than what we had in the last 5 years, but better than most parts of the world. In fact, maybe the second or the third best in the world. The only challenge we have is this fiscal deficit, which is staring at us, and it needs to be fixed. And we need some stimulus in the next 12 months so that the economy has some support. So that's where the government's importance is. And if we get a good election result, or rather I should say if we get a government that has capability to execute, then I think we should start outperforming the rest of the world in the forthcoming 12 months.